Should you start a YouTube channel? Hello world, my name is Matt Spaugh, and I'm a video producer, photographer, and man with sage advice for would-be YouTubers out there. The question is, should you start a YouTube channel? The answer is, I have no earthly idea. But in this video, I will share 5 reasons why I'm glad I did. Before we start, I think it's important that you know how and why I started my channel. But if you don't want to suffer through the backstory, I will timestamp this so you can skip it. I started my channel basically on a dare. I've got a good buddy who I meet for lunch every couple of weeks or so, and for a time, over our lunches, we talked a lot about video, and we kept coming back to the idea of starting a channel. We batted around 100 or so stupid ideas of things that we could try, but it was much more as a conversational stimulant than it was anything serious. But at some point, I said, I'm gonna do it. And I said it out loud before our next lunch. I am going to create a channel, make a video, and post it. And when I look back on it, I realized that that was kind of a symbiotic, double-barrel dare motivation, I'm gonna finally do this kind of moment. We'd been talking about making a channel, and I'd been wanting to either buy or paint custom backdrops for my headshot photography. Painting the backdrop gave me a subject for the video, and making the video forced me to paint the backdrop. You see how all that works? So I bought some canvas and I rolled the camera and I tried to paint a backdrop. I did minimal research. I did no script. I had modest equipment and relatively poor production value. And if I'm honest, I have to admit that even in my boisterous resolve, I kind of thought that one video would be the end of it. But strangely, that didn't happen. Over the course of struggling through my first video, I started having ideas for a follow-up video, and I made that one. And then both of those videos got a few views, and people from around the world started asking me questions and thanking me for taking the time to share my ideas about hand-painted backdrops. Now, some might say that that was the gateway to my dopamine addiction, but I don't really think so. YouTube is massive, and I never had any aspirations about being able to compete with the big names that do it really well. I've always been happy to have an idea and engage in the personal challenge of making something that I can be proud of, and once it's out there, it's kind of over for me. Now, that's not to say that I don't get a kick out of making a video that gets a bunch of views, but to this point anyway, getting views has not been my primary goal, so it's not where I get my primary reward, if that makes sense. Or maybe I'm just totally fooling myself. But anyway, that's kind of where and why I started. And now we can get to the 5 reasons why I'm glad I did. And spoiler alert, there is a bonus one at the end. So number 1, it pushed me into doing something that I wasn't naturally good at. Most of my life, the things that I've engaged in have been things that I thought I was going to be pretty good at. Whether or not I actually had an aptitude for those things didn't matter. I thought I did. So trying them didn't really come with any major uncertainties. In the video production world, the experience of making something, realizing that it kind of sucks, and then having to figure out why it sucks, kind of sucks. And it's been good for me to have to force myself to take things apart and figure out what goal I'm trying to achieve and what elements are keeping that from happening, and then pushing through until I can get something that I'm happy with. Or I learned that I should never ever try whatever that thing is again, ever. And you know, that works too. Number 2, I have challenged myself creatively and technically. When I started making videos for YouTube, I had a little unspoken rule that in every video I created, I'd try something new. A new focal length, a new lighting setup, a new editing technique, anything that I had never done before. And it's another case of that kind of double-barrel motivation. I make a commitment to learn a thing, and that thing is ultimately going to be out there for people to see, so I can't just bail out on it when it gets difficult. It's a strange motivator, but it's definitely helped my perseverance as well as my problem-solving skills. I often tell my clients that video is not about video, it's about solving problems on set. And the more problems you solve, and the more times you go through the problem-solving process, the easier it will get, and the easier it will be to keep a cool head when problems arise. I think we're up to number 3 now. I have reevaluated how I communicate. Not just the words I use, but the way I organize my information, and maybe more importantly, what I choose to leave out. I think some of my early videos are verbose, which was mainly because I had not organized my information and I didn't script anything. I just ran my mouth until my brain decided what the next logical topic was, and for me, that's not a good plan. The process of planning and scripting my videos has changed how I write emails and how I talk to people, especially groups of people. The other aspect of reevaluating how I communicate is I choose easy for me to say, I choose my words more carefully. I had an English teacher who once told me that you should write to not be misunderstood. And it's a learned skill to think about how your reader, or in this case viewer, might misinterpret what you're trying to communicate and choose your words accordingly. Number 4, I've been inspired. When I got serious about YouTube, I realized that there are a few content creators that I kind of thought of as my YouTube heroes. And these were people whose videos had either a look or a sound or a color palette or maybe an attitude that I wanted to emulate. I never really wanted to copy anyone completely, but when I saw a video that I thought was cool, I wanted to figure out why I thought it was cool. What was the thing or the combination of things that I was responding to? And then I had the challenge of figuring out whether or not I could incorporate that thing into my content. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but I learned what energizes my creativity by figuring out what I had a positive reaction to. And to me, that's like inspiration with horsepower behind it. It's taking an idea, dissecting it, and then making it your own. Number 5, I think, I've met cool people. When you think about it, the fact that I can sit in a studio in Atlanta, Georgia, and publish videos that can be seen around the world essentially for free is pretty stinking amazing. And I find this community pretty amazing. And when I say community, I'm talking primarily about the community of content creators. No offense to the bazillions of people who watch all that content, but the shared experience of coming up with ideas, producing them, dealing with the opinions that come your way as a result is kind of special. And I have people that I would call friends all over the world, and I have them because of this platform and the fact that I chose to engage it. I actually took a trip to Florida just to meet one of my YouTube heroes and check out his production facility. We had a great time. I met his fiancée, we walked around town. It was great fun. So for anybody who's been watching this far, you get the special bonus lesson. And that is that people can be jerks. Now, I'm sure you already knew that. I knew that already, and I've been a jerk myself on many occasions, but somehow here it's different. The anonymity that online interaction provides seems to make jerks get a whole lot jerkier. I get my share of negative comments, and sometimes they're hard to ignore, but 2 things can be helpful on that front. First is your old pal apathy. Some negative comments are just so out there that it's pretty easy to genuinely not care. And for me, sadly, those are in the minority. If you cut me, I will bleed. And there are times when the only way to get past something, like a negative comment, is to respond to it. And when that's the case, I try to use humor, and I try to respond in a lighthearted way, and never in a passive-aggressive, hurtful, funny way. Most people who are spending their precious minutes on this earth slamming me personally for what lens I use to take portraits probably kind of have sad lives. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I mean that in a genuinely compassionate way. I mean, who really, if they had the option, would want to be that guy or girl? They're mostly guys. Anyway, I hope all of this has been helpful if you're considering jumping into the wild and wonderful world of YouTube. I can say without reservation that I'm really glad I did. And that's it for this one, and I thank you so much for watching.